bottom of these ends, and then we'll do the opening maid. So in other words, you can have a seat. Yeah.
Going to introduce it? I'm going to use your mic. You. For that purpose.
Okay.
Morning, everyone. So you probably can tell from the order of service that we're going to be doing some labor songs, some union songs, and you're welcome to sing along. And we're going to start out with a prelude that's union-made. Probably many of you know this. And you're certainly invited to sing along on the chorus. And if any of you know the verses, sing on those too.
Yes, please do.
There once was a union maid who never was afraid of goons and ginks and pumpany finks and all the deputy sheriffs who made the raid. She went to the union hall when a meeting it was called, and with a legion boys come round, she always stood her ground. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die. This union maid was wise to the tricks of company spies. She couldn't be fooled by a company stool. She'd always organize the guys. She always got her way. When she stuck for better pay, she'd show her guard to the National Guard, and this is what she'd say. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die. want to be free. Take a trip from me. Break out of that mold, it'll all be sold. We've got a fight in history. We'll have our say, and we'll get equal pay. Like Mother Jones, we'll roll the phones and fight the union way. Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die.
Thank you for that wonderful music, Barry, Wendy, and David. Where can I get my union card? Good morning, UUCA. I'm Dan Patterson. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a grateful member of the Board of Trustees. At Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, we are a congregation of people of all backgrounds, races, genders, sexual orientations, and disabilities and abilities, both seen and unseen. Whether this is your regular Sunday destination, or if you're joining us for the first time, whether you're here in person or participating online via the live stream, welcome, and thank you for being here this morning. Today, Reverend Caitlin Cotter Coillberg is our guest minister, and we're so pleased that she's here with us today. This past April, I had the honor of joining our high school youth on a week-long service project in Pipestem, West Virginia. We assisted the Appalachian South Folk Life Center in preparing for their summer program. The land, the people, and the history of the area left a lasting impression on us all, and I'm excited to hear the lessons that Reverend Caitlin will share with us from this special region. However, before I turn things over to her, I have one announcement. This Friday, September 5th at 6:30 p.m., UUCA will be hosting an ice cream social for our first Friday event. Please join us for pizza, trivia, ice cream, and friendship. This event is free, and everyone is welcome. And I did read in the Connections newsletter that the plan is to have ice cream first. In case that helps tip the scale for anybody. So. Oh, you changed that? Oh, talk to Tommy. It means so much to have you here connecting with us in worship. We're truly grateful you chose to spend this time with our community. Thank you.
Greetings, y'all. As he said, I'm the Reverend Caitlin Cotter Coillberg, pronouns she, her, hers. And on this blessed weekend, celebrating those who labor and the work of the labor movement, greetings to you and to your aching hearts. Greetings to you and to your worried minds. Greetings to you and to your weary bodies. Whatever brought you here, whatever your gender or occupation or lack of occupation, whatever this weekend means for you, whether this is your first visit to this congregation or your 1,000th, may you find in this time some joy, some invitation to rest and connection, some moment of inspiration that carries you forward in the practice of audacious hope. And in this spirit and at this time, I invite you into community greeting. Invite you to seek new connections and to be gentle with the introverts among us. Yes. Friends, so many of us have been seeing red recently. Red as the blood spilled from gun violence, rocking us again and again with the anguish of lost lives, of scared students and workers, teachers and parents. Red as the hats worn in gleefully hateful spews of nonsense, threats to destroy all that is sacred, all that is kind and competent, all that is peer-reviewed and sensible. We breathe together in the face of that sea of red, refusing to let our anger and grief and fear mist our eyes, looking again for what shines about us, ready to dance through these waters to seek our mutual liberation. For we can indeed see red everywhere, sparkling red. Red as the ruby slippers and bright lipstick worn by friends of Dorothy, our LGBTQ kin who have always been here and will always be here. Red as the vestments and high heels of female clergy, following their vocation even in the face of resurging misogyny. Red as the roses in our gardens, reminders of the beauty of interdependence, of all we can grow together, all we fight for, of the power of community and mutual aid. Red as the bandanas worn around the necks of striking mine workers 100 years ago. Red as the markers and paints used by CDC workers walking out in support of public health, and DC residents refusing to bow to occupation. Red as the blinking lights on legislator answering machines filled up with calls and voicemails as never before. Red as the color of resistance, of rebellion, of resilience. We reclaim red and we carry it forward. Forward for all of us, not for a selfish few. Forward in ferocious hope. Forward in possibility. And in that spirit, come, let us worship together.
Morning. We now light our candle of compassion. This morning I'd like to start with a quote from the poet John O'Donohue. "The world is not decided by action alone. It is decided more by consciousness and spirit. They are the secret sources of all action and behavior. The spirit of a time is an incredibly subtle yet hugely powerful force, and it is comprised of the mentality and spirit of all individuals together. And our spirit, the spirit of our congregation here at UUCA, is one of compassion. Compassion for those who live in darkness and fear, compassion for those who are subjected to the winds of tyranny and cruelty from on high, and compassion for those whose light is suffocated by a flood of greed and hatred." Now let us light our chalice. The words are in your order of service. I'll read the first part, and together we'll read the second part. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world.
And now let us rise in body or spirit and join in singing the opening hymn, Step by Step, the Longest March, 157 in the gray hymnal, not 156, 157.
accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill. Sing me on, sing me on.
So our story today is Doreen Cronin. It's by Doreen Cronin. It's called Click Clack Moo, Cows That Type. Yeah? You know this story? So good. We're all about unions today, y'all. That same we just sang, right? I usually try to avoid the ones that use that ableist movement, but it's directly from a union charter. Oh, Click Clack Moo, cows that type. So I don't know that it happened this way, but I do know that it's true, that long ago and far away, or maybe recently and quite nearby, Farmer Brown had a problem. His cows liked to type. All day long, he hears click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. At first, he couldn't believe his ears. Cows that type? Impossible. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo. Then he couldn't believe his eyes. Dear Farmer Brown, the barn is very cold at night. We'd like some electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows? It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn. Now they wanted electric blankets? No way, said Farmer Brown. No electric blankets. So the cows went on strike. Farmer Brown came out to a sign posted on the barn. Sorry, we're closed. No milk today. No milk today, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard the cows hard at work. Click, clack, moo, click, clack. You can do that with me. You guys want to do that with me? Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. The next day, he got another note. Dear Farmer Brown, the hens are cold too. They'd like electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. I like how you can tell they're getting better at typing the further we go in the story. The cows were getting impatient with the farmer. They left a new note on the barn. Closed. No milk, no eggs. No eggs, cried Farmer Brown. And in the background, he heard them. What did he hear? I'll make union organizers of y'all yet. Cows that type, hens on strike. Who ever heard of such a thing? How can I run a farm with no milk and no eggs? So Farmer Brown was furious, and he got out his own typewriter. Dear cows and hens, there will be no electric blankets. You are cows and hens. I demand milk and eggs. Sincerely, Farmer Brown. Duck was a neutral party, so he brought that ultimatum to the cows. The cows held an emergency meeting. All the animals gathered around the barn to listen in, but since none of them understood moo, they didn't really understand what was going on, and all night long, Farmer Brown waited for an answer. Can y'all show me your grumpiest Farmer Brown waiting for an answer face? Oh, excellent grumpy face. Oh, yeah, there's a grumpy face. I saw that. Duck knocked on the door early the next morning, and he handed Farmer Brown a note. Dear Farmer Brown, we will exchange our typewriter for electric blankets. Leave them outside the barn door, and we will send Duck over with the typewriter. Sincerely, the cows. Farmer Brown decided this was a good deal. He left the blankets next to the barn door and waited for Duck to come back with the typewriter. Do you think Duck's going to bring back the typewriter? No, I don't think so either. I think Duck's smarter than that. I think Farmer Brown is about to get a new note. Dear Farmer Brown, the pond is quite boring. We'd like a diving board. Sincerely, the ducks. Click, clack, quack, right? Click, clack, quack, clickety, clack, quack. Thank you all. I love this story, a reminder that we not only all deserve to be warm and snug, but also that everyone deserves fun, right? And that labor organizing is how we get there. Now, as we expand our circle of worship by inviting our kids to head to their classes, we also remember that kids are always welcome in the sanctuary space, and we sing them on their way with a children's blessing song. I invite y'all now into the spirit of prayer or meditation. Invite you to perhaps settle your feet on the floor or your hands in your lap. You may wish to close your eyes or let them gently unfocus. Spirit of life and love, of laughter and leisure and longing. Here we sit, caught in anguish and anger, stuck in what feels often like the very worst timeline. Help us to breathe in peace and breathe out love, to root ourselves in compassion and community as we reach again for courage, for the imagination and insight needed to find a way through despair into solidarity and mutual aid. We breathe again into what is true and what is right and what is needed. Spirit of life, remind us that rest is resistance, that joy is central to resilience and rebellion, that practices of creativity fuel us and connect us. Help us remember, we are not alone in facing tyranny and oppression, not alone in our work for justice and liberation, not alone in our struggles. Keep us centered on what we know to be possible and in our shared values and vision. For despite what the fascists say, the future is not set, and together we have the tools we need and the power to shape our shared story into something wonderful, wonderfully fabulous, wonderfully fair, wonderfully life-affirming, wonderfully full of connection to nature and human-made art and all that nurtures and sustains. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
This month's Share Their Plate recipient is Culpeper Garden. UUCA has a long and deep history with Culpeper Garden, and we proudly continue that this month. Culpeper Garden is the largest low-income retirement community in Arlington with 346 affordable units. The mission statement reads as follows. Culpeper Garden will provide and advocate for high-quality, affordable housing, services, and programs that allow older adults on fixed and very low incomes to age with comfort and dignity. Our vision for Arlington is for all older persons to have access to affordable housing and services that foster autonomy, dignity, and well-being. I think we can all agree that everyone deserves to live with dignity, and today we can help Culpeper Garden with this vision. 70% of today's offering goes directly to Culpeper Garden, and the remaining 30% goes right here back in the UECA to support our vital programming. There are many ways to give, including cash or check in the plate, or see your order or service for more high-tech options. Will the ushers please collect the offering?
I invite you now into your offering blessing. The words are in your order of service. We bless and receive these gifts, opening our hearts to true generosity.
Today's reading comes from John O'Donohue. It is entitled, For Citizenship. In these times when anger is turned into anxiety and someone has stolen the horizons and the mountains, our small emperors on parade never expect our indifference to disturb their nakedness. They keep their heads down and their eyes gleam with reflection from aluminum economic ground. The media wraps everything in a cellophane of sound, and the ghost surface of the virtual overlays the breathing earth. The industry of distraction makes us forget that we live in a universe. We have become converts to the religion of stress and its deity of progress. That we may have courage to turn aside from it all and come to kneel down before the poor, to discover what we must do, how to turn anxiety back into anger, how to find our way home. John O'Donohue.
Thank you. In the West Virginia History Museum in Charleston, West Virginia, underground in the Capitol complex of that state capitol, about a 10-minute walk from where I lived for the 4 years I served as the only UU parish minister in West Virginia. They jokingly called me the Bishop of West Virginia. The actual Episcopal bishop did not think that was funny. There sits in an off-to-the-side display case an old red bandana, not this one. This one was given to me by a beloved elder of that West Virginia congregation, an old school activist organizer who grew up in those hollers. No, the museum's red bandana is from the Mine Wars, also called the Coal Wars of 1912 to 1921. Has anyone heard of that moment of history? Awesome. Yes. This was the biggest armed insurrection since the Civil War, this big insurrection of the miners against the coal companies and their guards. Anyone else here the descendant of a coal miner? Yeah, anyone else familiar with some of the history of coal mining in this country? So y'all know the coal fields of Appalachia, which are, of course, geologically the same as the coal fields of Wales over in the UK, because these mountains are older than our continents, fueled the Industrial Revolution right here and across the Atlantic. And on both sides of the pond, coal mining was horrible, dangerous, poorly paid work. And the coal towns, where people like my great-great-grandfather worked when he came over from Ireland, were completely controlled by the coal companies. These coal companies owned everything, from the preacher to the food, to the houses, to the clothing available. Miners were even paid mostly in coal company scrip. They printed their own coins, this coal company scrip that could only be spent in company stores. So I want you to take for a minute, imagine how horrific this is. You live in this tiny, isolated community that's literally owned by your boss, who only pays you in money that you can pay back to him, right? He owns your house. He owns the grocery store. He owns the town itself, right? How you get there, how you leave, how you get to work, every aspect of it. And he has the ability, whenever he likes, to bring in new groups of workers. So whenever you try to strike, he can just bring in a whole new group of workers who probably don't even know that they are being brought in as strike breakers, right? Because they may not speak your language. They may have been recently emancipated from slavery, right? Think about how recently emancipation happened in relation to this history, right? It's all just happened. And the coal mines of Appalachia were way more diverse than we picture them. Like when you think coal miner, you kind of think of like a scruffy white kid, right? Covered in coal, but it was way more complex, way more diverse than that. And labor organizing that happened there was way more complicated than we often think about. This is where the red bandanas come in. So there's sometimes when I'm like, okay, so this is where the term rednecks come in, people will be like, but I read, and I'm like, okay, yes, so technically, there are a few different points in US history when people have used the term redneck. Various random tiny local newspapers use the term to refer to Tories at one point, for example, but the term only made it into the national news and the national conversation when the labor organizers of the Appalachian coal fields began using the red bandana around their necks as a symbol of union sympathy and solidarity, a symbol that could be understood across language boundaries. Right? Across ethnic boundaries, across regional differences. First, the Irish labor organizers started putting on a red bandana, then the Italians, and then by 1912, the union became this thing that was uniting people, right? You see someone in a red bandana, you know they're for the union. And this is important, especially when we talk about labor organizing, because 100 years ago, most labor unions didn't allow in black folks or immigrants. But the Appalachian coal miners did. Not only did they let those folks in, they were not only involved and organized, they were leaders in those coal mines. Right? So many lies told about Appalachia, and one of them is that it's all white people. It's not surprising, given that aspect, that they were like the only ones being like, no, everybody belongs in the union, just how violent the pushback was against their attempts to organizing, right? Given the racist and anti-immigrant history of this country. And by violent, I'm talking entire private armies with like airplanes that dropped bombs on the miners. I'm not exaggerating. Go look up the history of the Battle of Blair Mountain. There's great documentaries about that. Redneck was a pejorative used to indicate, it was a pejorative for radical, socialist, multi-ethnic, multilingual, backwoods organizers of Appalachia. Redneck was short neck for socialist, multi-ethnic, anti-racist, backwoods organizer. United across their differences for the common cause of better safety, higher wages, shorter working hours. Right? Because we talk about horrific conditions. Remember, this included child labor. This included 12-hour days. This included frequent tunnel collapses. You did not live a long time in a coal mine during this period, and you sure weren't paid very much. And what you were paid, you kind of just handed right back. They rebelled against it. They made one of the biggest labor unions, most powerful labor unions ever to exist. And their legacy lives on. I was at the West Virginia Capitol in 2018 when the Teachers Union of West Virginia went on strike. Did anyone see that on the news when it happened? It was incredible in person. It was this flood of educators in Red for Ed t-shirts and bandanas who came from all over the state. I don't know if some of you all went on the service trip and you've seen the roads of backwoods West Virginia. They're not good. right? And they're really bad in January. They came through these narrow, winding, very poorly maintained, icy roads, hours to come together in the dead of winter for this common cause. And I watched all the schools shut down, right? So all these communities were coming together. West Virginia is super poor, a lot of poor kids. So they were coming together, they were putting together kids' activities so that kids had somewhere to go, lunches. And everyone was coming together, whatever their job was, shoulder to shoulder with these teachers, feeding the kids, taking care of each other, everyone pulling red clothing out of their shirts. I got one that was like a gun violence shirt and turned it inside out and put it on and went to the Capitol. I've seen how alive that history and identity is. So I get pretty head up when it comes to this question of what a redneck is. So I've seen what a redneck is. To be a redneck, when you were talking about United States labor history, is a person who defies the violence of the state to unite with folks across difference to make everyone's life better. And this makes me think of the 2014 movie Pride, one of the absolute best movies from the last decade. Don't fight with me, I'll win. About a group of gay activists from London who supported striking Welsh coal miners. It's a fabulous film. Anyone seen it? If you haven't, go look at it. It's so good. And there's one scene in particular I absolutely love where they're all hanging out together in the Union Hall, celebrating that the gays did some successful fundraising like we do. And first one of the Welsh women stands up, and then a few more, and then all of them rise to their feet singing Bread and Roses. Who's familiar with that song or poem or the history of that phrase? It is not just bread we fight for roses too. Rebecca Solnit, who so often posts about hope and difficult times and reminders of the work of resistance and resilience that we may not all see or notice. She's like, no, people are doing things. You just got to keep looking and you got to go out and find it and be a part of it. So this week she posted about the engagement of Taylor Swift to that kind but mediocre football player. I don't remember his name. Specifically, Rebecca Solnit posted about how noticing things like this that may give you joy is totally okay, that we are allowed to celebrate what is lovely or even just nice, that this is necessary frivolity, not bread and circuses, but bread and roses. She posted, again, an excerpt from her book, Orwell's Roses. In that book, she reflected on this phrase, bread and roses, which, of course, originated from a 1910 speech and then magazine report by Helen Todd, a campaigner for women's right to vote. Rebecca Solnit wrote that Todd reflected in her magazine report on the phrase that was to become a refrain for the suffrage movement, the labor movement, and then for radicals of the 1970s and after, declaring that women's votes would go toward helping forward the time when life's bread, which is home, shelter, and security, and the roses of life, music, education, nature, and books shall be the heritage of every child that is born in the country and the government of which she has a voice. There will be no prisons, no scaffolds, no children in factories, no girls driven on the street to earn their bread, in the day when there shall be bread for all and roses too. Bread filled the body, roses fed something subtler. Not just hearts, but imaginations, psyches, senses, identities. It was a pretty slogan, but a fierce argument that more than survival and bodily well-being were needed and were being demanded as a right. It was equally an argument against the idea that everything that human beings need can be reduced to quantifiable, tangible goods and conditions. Roses and these declarations stood for the way that human beings are complex. Desires are irreducible, that what sustains us is often subtle and elusive. I love this phrase, this history, this song, as a reminder of what this holiday weekend, so much of what the labor movement is about and is always fighting for, is the right to have time and resources to go after whatever subtle and elusive or silly or nostalgic or cringy, right? Whatever elusive piece of beauty and joy sustains us. To have a life outside of work. To rest. Rest can be a radical act. Rest is resistance. This is something Black liberation theologian Tricia Hersey talks about with her amazing NAP ministry. Have y'all heard of NAP ministry? Oh my gosh, go look it up, buy her rest deck, buy her books, go to her website, follow her on Facebook, y'all. Oh my gosh. How the refusal to grind can be a political act. The NAP ministry operates from an understanding that all oppression is connected. They believe rest is not a privilege or a luxury, but a divine and human right, that there is a softness in being still and life to be found in leisure. To quote Tricia Hersey, "We exist in a culture that supports sleep deprivation. We have been brainwashed by capitalism to work at a machine-level pace and to equate our worth with how much we can produce. The same engine that drove millions of enslaved people into the forced terror of brutal labor on plantations is the same engine driving grind culture today. Rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. It says, no, I am enough now, and I am not a machine." The labor movement is not just about better wages and safety regulations, although absolutely we must keep fighting for those. All of us who work, after all, are in the working class and must be in solidarity against the owning class. We fight for safety, and we fight for weekends, for shorter working hours, for enough, for the right to not always be hustling. I saw something recently that 80% of working Americans have a side gig. 80% of working Americans have a side gig just to afford basic necessities. That's wild. We have the resources as a society to feed and house everybody. Everybody. The small minority of folks controlling the resources just choose not to. We're back to the conditions so many of those labor activists, like the coal miners, were organizing against. So what can we learn from the Appalachian organizers about how to stay in a fight when it feels overwhelming? When it doesn't always feel like we are winning? When it is hard to feel hope? Because the thing is, Appalachian folk, now I'm from southern Appalachia, Dolly Parton country, and what I experienced in West Virginia was a different Appalachia, so I'll name that. So what I experienced in West Virginia, Appalachia, is that these folks know a lot about losing a fight and keeping going anyway. The coal miners' unions were and are powerful, but the miners lost the mine war. Just like the Welsh miners, the gay activists were supporting in real life and in the film Pride ultimately went back to work without having their demands met. They didn't win. And yet, these stories, these struggles continue to inspire action, to bring community together, to matter. I cry at the end of this movie, Pride, every time I watch it. Because you get to this point where the strike has failed, and the lead gay activist just found out he has AIDS at this time in history when that was a death sentence. So he knows they're at this Pride March, and he knows it's probably his last one. And it's this tiny little thing, and everyone is dejected and bickering like we do. And then comes bus after bus after bus after bus of Welsh coal miners. And they get out and they start lining up, line after line after line of Welsh coal miners with their union flags, and they're there to march with the Pride Parade. And suddenly, it isn't a small thing at all. Friends, the not small thing is these fights are worth fighting. Organizing isn't just about winning. It's not a game or a business deal. Organizing, resisting oppression, working for a better, more sustainable, more equitable and just world or country or company town, this is worth doing because it needs to be done. We fight the evils of late-stage consumer capitalism, of corporate greed and fascism and racism and transphobia and environmental destruction and so on, not because we know we will win, though we will, but because every life we save is worth saving. This is something I learned viscerally in West Virginia with the work we were involved in with the church with harm reduction. So you all heard that phrase, harm reduction? Right? West Virginia had the largest opioid outbreak and then the largest HIV outbreak in the country, right? This artificial condition created by corporations, right? And the people who organize against that, their thing is that every life is worth saving. Every life is worth saving. And our Unitarian Universalist congregation was the only one willing to stand with them because we said, oh yeah, that's what we believe. That's our value. Every life has inherent worth and dignity. Every life is worth saving. Right? It's also why I was kind of the only clergy out there doing escort work at the abortion clinic. Right? This doing what is needed doesn't require you to be hopeful. In my experience, West Virginians are pretty fatalistic, and they have good reason to be so. They do this work because they care about their community and their neighbors, because they will save every life that can be saved. Coming together across difference for a common goal of a better, more sustainable, more just, more restful life is something worth doing for its own sake. It is worth it to find ways to rebel against the lies and the harm done to our bodies, our hearts, and communities by late-stage consumer capitalism. Remembering that it is not just bread we fight for for roses too. This is what I watched Appalachian organizers do from the porch of my church office in West Virginia. They live at the speed of community care. They resist toxic urgency and consumerism in favor of connection and mutual aid. So this Labor Day weekend, I hope you will resist the sales ad urging you to spend your time buying, and the fascists telling you to be complicit and compliant and quiet, and instead act like a backward socialist redneck. Take time to talk, to a neighbor. Over-tip your barista at the coffee shop. If you go out to eat today, over-tip. That's always my Labor Day thing. If you go out after church, over-tip. Think about what you were going to tip and then tip more, please. Resist the violence of the state. Keep dreaming of a better, more equitable life for the people all around you. Keep dreaming. Keep saving the lives you can save. Together, stone by stone, drop by drop, and step by step, we can do what matters on the side of love and justice and roses and naps. All right, so for our next hymn, which is hymn number 109 in that big gray hymnal, we are doing Unfamiliar Hymn Challenge Edition, which is we're going to be singing the words that are in that book, but we're going to be using the more familiar tune, the one used by Judy Collins and in the film Pride and at my own alma mater, Bryn Mawr College. So I invite you to rise in body, voice, or spirit. Let's sing Bread and Roses.
As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 workshops gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing bread and roses, bread and roses. As we come marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching, unnumbered women dead, go crying through our singing their ancient call for bread. Small art and love and beauty, their drudging spirits new. Yes, it's bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we bring the greater days. The rising of the women means the rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler, and that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's rolls, bread and roses, bread and
As we come near to the end of our service today, we will extinguish our chalice. But I wanted to thank Reverend Caitlin for joining us today. I think, like many of you, I was inspired I laughed a lot, I learned a lot, and I'll even think about doing some rest. So the words for the chalice extinguishing are in your order of service. We'll read it together. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light and warmth it represents. These we carry with us, bringing our sparks of love to the world.
Friends, may you find some roses this weekend, whatever that means to you. May you practice rest alongside solidarity and rebel against fascism and late-stage consumer capitalism in all the ways you can. May you know that you are loved, you are worthy, and you are not alone. Blessed be, Ashe, and amen.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the street the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, what a better make a living, better getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it all. 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me. Let you dream just to watch them shatter, just a step on the boss man's ladder. But you've got dreams he'll never take away. You're in the same boat with your old friends, waiting for the day the ship will go in, the tide's gonna turn, it's gonna roll your way. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it all. 9 to 5, they got you where they want you. There's a better life and you dream about it, don't you? It's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it. And spend your life putting money in his pocket. Oh, 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it all. 9 to 5.